I'm 81 years old, and I need to tell you something before the clock gets louder. 10 tiny choices stole decades from me. Not tragedies, not scandals, just everyday yes and polite maybes that look harmless and cost everything. Nobody warned me. So hear me now. If you recognize yourself, take this as permission and a plan. I'll name the 10 thieves, show you their disguises, and hand you replacements that give time back. I can't recover my lost years, but you can keep yours. Lean in, listen closely. Small turns change big destinies. Start now while hands are steady. Choice 1 was simple. I said yes before I checked in with myself. A teacher asked for weekend help. My boss hinted at overtime. A friend needed a favor. My mouth answered before my body did. Yes, yes, yes. Each yes felt generous. Each yes stole a tiny future afternoon. I confused reflex with kindness. I confused speed with love. Here is the replacement. Pause, breathe, check the body, then answer tomorrow. A delayed answer is still an answer. My life changed when I learned to say, let me get back to you by noon. Most people respected the boundary. Choice 2 was quieter. I kept my feelings reasonable. Reasonable is how women disappear. I said, I'm fine when I was flooded. I softened truths with cushions and question marks. I edited my needs until they looked like favors. Resentment grew roots. Love withered at the surface. The replacement was 12 truthful words. Here is what I feel, need, and will do next. No apology. No esa. No defense. Feelings are data, not demands. When I named them cleanly, I stopped negotiating my worth. People learned how to meet me, and I learned how to meet myself. In full daylight. Choice 3 was seductive. I waited for the perfect moment. Later, after the kids. Later, after the promotion. Later, when money felt safer. Later, never call me back. I built a museum of perfect timing and kept my life behind glass. The replacement was rough starts on real dates. I scheduled first, explain later. I let messy beginnings be honorable. A walk becomes training. One application becomes momentum. 1 hour on Tuesday becomes identity. Perfection wasted decades. Movement created minutes that multiplied. Set the smallest appointment that proves you mean it, then keep it without negotiation. Even when you're tired. Choice 4 looked diligent. I overprepared instead of starting. I read 3 books before taking one step. I made color-coded plans for things I never touched. Preparation felt productive and kept me from exposure. I hid my courage under outlines. The replacement was this rule. Begin at 70% ready, then learn in motion. Research until the next action is obvious, then act within 24 hours. 20 minutes of imperfect doing beats 2 weeks of pristine planning. My life did not need another spreadsheet. It needed my hands, my heartbeat, my name on the first messy draft. On the table. Choice 5 sounded polite. I apologize for existing. Sorry for asking. Sorry for calling. Sorry for taking space in a crowded room. I paid an apology tax on every desire. Every sorry told me I was a problem to be minimized. The replacement was gratitude and clarity. My feet followed. Specificity turned hope into calendars, and calendars turned into changed mornings. Dreams do not need drama. They need details. Talk like a person you trust, then let your day prove you right. Today, choice 7 wore a smile. I outsourced my decisions. What do you think I should do? I asked my husband, my boss, my pastor, the internet. Delegated preference became a habit, and I paid an indecision tax that compounded. The replacement was a daily sentence. If I trusted myself, I would choose this. Then one matching action before sundown. Small, doable mine. Preference is a muscle. It strengthens with use and atrophies with advice. When I chose, even clumsily, I became reliable to myself. Confidence did not arrive first. Choice arrived first, and confidence came running after. Every single day, choice 8 felt virtuous. I mistook kindness for compliance. I believed a good woman must be agreeable. I agreed my way out of myself. Boundaries sounded mean, so I tried to manage everyone's feelings instead. The replacement was a simple pattern. I don't statements. I don't lend what I can't afford to lose. I don't answer work calls after 6. I don't explain twice. A boundary is not a demand on you. It is an instruction for me. People adjusted. The kind ones stayed. The users drifted. I found my weekends, my humor, my spine, and I stood up straighter. I did not see these choices clearly until 74, when I opened an old date book and found my someday list. 10 lines, written decades earlier. Learn Italian. Hike the ridge. Send the essay. Only one was crossed off. The page felt like a quiet obituary. I cried, then I made tea, then I made a vow. No more silent theft. I would replace every tiny robber with a living practice. That night, I wrote the first 3 replacements on an index card and taped it to the door. The next morning, I walked through on purpose. Into a different life. Choice 9 arrived disguised as practicality. I treated my body like a suggestion, something to be negotiated after everyone else was settled. I slept too little, checked messages before sunrise, ate standing up, and called the headache normal. I told myself I was resilient. Really, I was withdrawing from my own account and refusing to check the balance. Tiny costs gathered interest. Energy thinned, patience snapped, joy dulled to static. I wasted years powering through instead of powering down. The replacement was simple, small, and stubborn because only stubborn protects what culture will not protect for you. Every single day, water before screens, a morning walk, even if only to the mailbox, a real lunch on a plate, and lights out like a ritual. Annual checkups booked the day I turned the calendar, not when a crisis forced me. I called rest productive and meant it. I protected bedtime the way I protected loved ones because future me is a loved one. Within months, the fog lifted. I still had grief, bills, and a noisy phone, but my mornings had a floor again. Ground underfoot creates courage. When the body is respected, decisions grow teeth and the hours grow longer. Choice 10 hid in the room itself. I kept sitting in circles that preferred the old version of me. We gossiped about brave people instead of becoming them. We praised sacrifice inside I desire. The ceiling was low and I called it cozy. I wasted years calibrating my volume to match that room. The replacement was to upgrade rooms before I felt ready. I looked for tables where someone asked, "What are you building?" and meant it kindly. I asked better questions, and people with bigger lives answered. Environment is not neutral. It tutors you while you're distracted. That I joined a community class where the average student was young enough to lend me slang and old enough in spirit to welcome my stories. I volunteered at the library on author night and asked the visiting writers one brave question each time. I unsubscribed from complaints disguised as friendship. I moved one chair at home to face the window and put a book on it that future me would be proud to have read. None of this was glamorous. All of it worked. The rooms changed me as gently as water changes stone, constant, patient, unstoppable when given time. Not everyone clapped. My daughter called me less for errands when I stopped answering after dinner. My friend group shrank by 2 when I would not host yet another holiday because I finally wanted to travel during one. At first I wondered if I'd become unkind. Then I listened closer. I had become clear. There's a difference. When people met my clarity with respect, our affection deepened. When they met it with pressure, I repeated my do not lines and changed the subject. The sky did not fall. My relationships that were real found new breath. Quickly, I remember the first day back in a classroom. I wore the wrong shoes and packed 2 pens as if failure would be ink-related. The professor asked why we were there, and my throat closed. I said, to remember how to think out loud. The room hummed, kind and curious. After class, a girl named Mina walked me to the bus stop and told me her grandmother never went to school and now reads romance on her porch and laughs loud every afternoon. We both laughed. I realized I was not late to life. I was finally on time. That if you are 20, do not wait to be brave until fear feels smaller. It grows while you hesitate. If you are 30, stop trading clarity for harmony, because harmony without truth is just quiet panic. If you are 40, stop applauding resilience while burning the candle at all phony ends. If you are 50, honor the ache that says more is possible. If you are 60, remember the door is not locked. I began later than I hoped, and still gathered a life that fits. Your timeline is yours. Let no one rent it to decorate their comfort. Ever, you may hear a voice that says, "What about your family? What about duty?" I am not preaching neglect. I am preaching proportion and consent. I still watch my grandson on Fridays because I wanted to, not because I was conscripted by silence. I still made soup for my neighbor when her back flared. Then I went to my class without apology. Love is not smaller when it includes you. Responsibility becomes cleaner when it is chosen. You do not abandon anyone by refusing to abandon yourself. That is the adjustment most people resist until they see it working beautifully. I cannot return the harvest I failed to plant in my 30s, but I can plant now and enjoy the shade. That is not consolation. That is reality with dignity. Since choosing these replacements, I sent 2 essays, learned enough Italian to get lost and unlost, and bought a train ticket because a painting in a book demanded I meet it in person. I cried in front of it and laughed on the way back. The map of my days looks different. It is not crowded with tasks that prove goodness. It is lined with commitments that prove aliveness. Daily. Maybe you are hearing your list now. The tiny choices that look loyal and cost years. I'm not here to shame the older version of us. She kept the lights on. She did what she knew. I am here to widen your horizon before time narrows it for you. The 10 thieves sound small because they are small. That is why they're dangerous. They do not knock. They creep. Close the door tonight. In the next part 1, we'll give you words, questions, and rituals that make space automatic. So courage is the default, not the occasional miracle. As promised, here are the words, questions, and rituals that make space automatic. So courage becomes your default instead of a rare surge. First, the words. 6 sentence stems to memorize and use without apology. I don't do that. I'm not available for this, but here is what I can offer. Let me get back to you by tomorrow at noon. Thank you for understanding. I choose this because it aligns with what matters to me. No, not right now. These sentences are tiny levers. Pull them and the room shifts. Notice. Next, the questions. Morning. What do I feel? What matters most today? And what is one bold action and one maintenance action that prove it? Midday. What am I avoiding? And if I trusted myself, what would I do next? Evening. Did my calendar match my values? What tiny theft try to sneak in? And what single promise will I keep tomorrow to strengthen trust? 3 check-ins. 9 answers. 5 minutes each. This is how you lead yourself with kindness and precision. Now the rituals. Water before screens. A 10-minute walk while you decide one thing you were postponing. A real lunch on a plate. The 3-2-1 wind down. 3 hours before bed, no heavy meals. 2 hours no work. 1 hour no glowing rectangles. Sunday switch. Convert one someday into a dated 30-minute block and place it early in the week where life can't steal it. The no rehearsal. Once a day, say a clean no to something small so your mouth remembers how. The dare of the week. One brave ask, one honest boundary, or 1 cent application before Friday. Environment hammers identity. Curate it. Put a book on the good chair that future you will brag about finishing. Lay walking shoes by the door and charge your phone across the room. Unsubscribe from one complaint circle and join one room where someone is building. Pin a short list to the fridge titled, "I am the kind of woman who," and finish the sentence 3 ways that make you sit up taller. Read it aloud when doubt arrives wearing its favorite sweater. Pay off momentum debt the way you would money. List the small, avoided tasks, start with the easiest, and snowball your way into the stubborn ones. 5 completions in a row generate more relief than 1 grand gesture. Each check mark is a promise kept, and kept promises compound into a self you trust. Trust makes decisions quick. Quick decisions return hours you thought were gone forever. Finally, permission. You're allowed to change rhythms that once kept you safe. You are allowed to grieve what you lost and still claim what remains. Begin today with 1 sentence, 1 question, and 1 ritual. Then repeat tomorrow, not because you're chasing perfection, but because you are practicing freedom. 10 tiny choices stole decades from me. 10 deliberate replacements are giving mine back in minutes that add up to years. The permission is granted. Now go live.